When the guards abandoned her, the humans stayed, defending the alien queen. The Zelari were magnificent but alien, tall, insected beings with exoskeletons that gleamed like polished metal under the sun of Zithuria. Their eyes, multifaceted and luminous, could seem cold to a human, but Mara had learned not to misread them. She had trained for years for this mission, and yet nothing could have prepared her for the events of that day. The palace of Empress Lysara stood at the heart of Zithuria's capital, its spires piercing the sky like the fangs of some enormous crystal beast. It was a structure that radiated both beauty and intimidation. Mara stood in formation with the other human guards, all of them in sleek protective armor designed to withstand the peculiar energy pulses the Zelari often used in their weapons. Yet, standing there, she felt a strange weight in the air, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The Empress had called for a ceremony, an event meant to celebrate the peaceful alliance between the humans and the Zelari. Human soldiers had been stationed around the perimeter for weeks, ensuring that no threat could approach unnoticed. Mara, however, had a creeping feeling in her gut, a sense of tension that she could not shake. "Lieutenant Quinn," said Commander Vane, a human officer who had accompanied her on several missions, "you look uneasy. Remember, we are only here to observe security protocols." "I know," Mara replied, her voice steady but firm. "It's just a feeling, sir." "Something doesn't feel right." Commander Vane gave a short, dismissive nod. "Humans are known for their imagination. Don't let it distract you." Mara's eyes drifted toward the towering throne at the center of the hall. Empress Lysara, regal and composed, sat upon it with the calm authority of someone who had ruled for decades. Her many limbs were folded with precision, and the golden adornments on her exoskeleton caught the light in mesmerizing patterns. Humans often struggled to fully appreciate the grace of Zelari movements, but Mara had spent months observing the queen. She admired Lysara, not just as a leader, but as a living symbol of everything that the Zelari stood for. Suddenly, the doors at the far end of the hall burst open. A chilling shout echoed through the grand chamber. Mara's training kicked in instantly. She drew her pulse rifle and scanned for threats. At first, she could not believe what she was seeing. The Zelari guards, those sworn to protect the Empress, were turning on their own. Their weapons, usually held with discipline and loyalty, were now pointed at the very palace they were meant to defend. Mara's heart pounded. There was no hesitation in the attackers. They moved with precision, a deadly tide aimed at the queen. "Stay behind me," Mara shouted, moving toward Empress Lysara. The queen's compound was built for defense, but not against those who were supposed to be its protectors. One of the human guards beside Mara hesitated, panic clouding his face. What do we do?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Protect her, that's what we do," Mara snapped, her eyes locked on the nearest Zelari assailant. She fired, the energy pulse from her rifle lighting up the hall in bursts of blue. Her shots hit with precision, but for every attacker she fell, two more took their place. Amid the chaos, Mara caught a glimpse of the queen. Empress Lysara's face, usually serene and composed, betrayed a flicker of fear. It was brief, barely noticeable, but Mara saw it. That brief vulnerability strengthened her resolve. She could not fail, not when the future of the Zelari Empire rested on her shoulders. The human guards began to retreat. Some fled toward the exit, hoping to survive, while others were frozen in fear. Mara's voice cut through the confusion. "No, we fight, we do not abandon the queen." But her words were swallowed by the roar of combat. Within moments, the hall was nearly empty of human defenders. Only Mara remained, standing between the advancing rogue Zelari and Empress Lysara. The human's presence, small and fragile in comparison, seemed almost ridiculous against the mass of alien attackers. Yet there was something in her stance, a refusal to yield, that caused even the enemies to hesitate. Mara ducked as a pulse blast whistled past her head, igniting a crystal column behind her. Sparks flew, and the sound was deafening. She rolled to the side, firing at an attacker attempting to flank her. She could see the panic among the rogue Zelari now. They had expected the humans to flee entirely. But one human soldier, standing firm, was a dangerous anomaly. The queen spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "Lieutenant Quinn, survive. You are humanity's strength." Mara's jaw tightened. "I am not leaving you," she shouted. She leapt forward, throwing herself into the fray with every ounce of skill she had honed. Her pulses struck true, disabling weapons, shattering guards, coordination, and buying precious seconds for the queen. Time became a blur. Mara moved like a shadow, firing, dodging, and using the environment to her advantage. The palace was designed with layers of traps, hidden tunnels, and defensive mechanisms. Mara knew them all from weeks of study. She used each advantage to slow the attackers, collapsing bridges, activating energy fields, and setting off alarms that summoned loyalists from distant parts of the palace. But still, she was alone. The feeling of isolation clawed at her, yet she refused to let it overwhelm her. Fear was a tool, she reminded herself, a reminder of what was at stake. The queen's life was worth more than any comfort or safety Mara could imagine. Finally, after what seemed like hours but was likely only minutes, the tide began to shift. A group of loyal Zelari, hidden from the initial attack, emerged to aid Mara. With their help, the rogue guards were forced to retreat. The hall was scarred, the walls scorched, but the Empress remained alive. Mara knelt for a moment, catching her breath. She looked at the queen, whose gaze was now steady again. Lysara rose, her many limbs moving gracefully despite the chaos surrounding them. "You stayed," the queen said softly, almost in disbelief. "When everyone else abandoned me, you stayed." Mara lowered her weapon, her chest heaving. "I did what I had to do. You are the queen. Your life, it matters more than mine." A faint smile appeared on Empress Lysara's face. It was the first Mara had seen, and it was more rewarding than any medal or praise a human could receive. Outside, the city was alive with the distant sounds of unrest. The betrayal had not ended, far from it. But for the first time, Mara realized that humans could stand where others faltered, that courage could overcome numbers, and that loyalty could inspire even the most alien of allies. Mara's resolve hardened. This was only the beginning. The palace might have survived the initial betrayal, but the war for its heart, and for the safety of the Zelari people, was just beginning. And she would not leave. Not now, not ever. As night fell over Zithuria, Mara stood at the palace balcony, watching the stars glitter above. Somewhere deep within her, a fire had ignited, one that would not burn out, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The palace of Empress Lysara still smoldered from the betrayal, its once pristine walls scarred by energy blasts and shattered crystal. Mara Quinn stood at the balcony, the wind of Zithuria whipping through her hair, the glow of the city reflecting off her armor. She had survived the initial onslaught, but she knew the danger was far from over. The rogue Zelari guards would not give up so easily. "Lieutenant Quinn," said Empress Lysara, her voice calm but commanding, "you risked everything to protect me. Now we must act. Staying here will not be safe for either of us." Mara turned, meeting the queen's multifaceted eyes. "I will not leave your side," she said firmly. "Where you go, I go, even if it's into the unknown." The queen inclined her head, acknowledging Mara's courage. "Very well, then we move together." The escape was perilous. The palace, though familiar to Mara, was now a maze of danger. Rogue guards patrolled the corridors, searching for any survivors. Every corner could hide an attacker, every shadow could be a trap. Mara led the way, her pulse rifle ready, her mind calculating the safest path. "Follow me," Mara whispered, "and stay close. Do not make sudden movements." The queen followed, her multiple limbs moving with a grace that belied her size. Even in danger, Lysara's poise was unmatched, and Mara could not help but feel a deep respect for her. Humans had many strengths, but the Zelari's control over their own movements, their calm under pressure, was something to admire. They reached a service corridor Mara had memorized during her patrols. It was narrow, but it offered a route to the palace's underground tunnels, passages designed to protect the royal family during emergencies. Mara pressed a button on her wrist device, and a panel slid open, revealing a steep staircase descending into darkness. "Stay close," she said again. "We do not know what may be waiting below." The tunnels were silent at first, but the stillness was deceptive. The air smelled of ozone and damp stone, and the faint hum of the city above reminded them that life continued despite the chaos within the palace. Mara led the way, using her experience to detect weak points in the structure, places where traps could have been set. Hours seemed to pass as they navigated the labyrinth. Mara could feel the queen's gaze on her, a mixture of curiosity and trust. "You humans," Lysara said quietly, "you do not retreat when faced with overwhelming odds. Why?" Mara considered the question. We have to fight because someone has to, because giving up is not an option. We fight for each other, for what matters. The queen nodded slowly, as if processing the idea. Humans, you are stronger than I imagined, not in body, but in spirit. As they reached a wider chamber, Mara paused. The room contained ancient Zelari technology, walls lined with devices that could emit energy pulses or create defensive shields. She studied the layout quickly. If we can use these, we might hold off any attackers long enough to escape. Lysara tilted her head. Then we shall use it. Show me what to do. Mara guided the queen in activating the devices. Together, they created a barrier that blocked the entrance to the chamber. The rogue guards outside slammed against it, their energy blasts shaking the walls. Mara gritted her teeth. They'll keep trying. We must be ready for anything. Hours turned into a tense watch, each moment stretching longer than the last. Mara rotated her guard, her senses alert to every sound, the echo of footsteps, the metallic scrape of exoskeletons, the faint vibration of energy weapons. She was exhausted, but she could not allow herself to falter. Finally, a faint sound reached her ears, a whisper of movement above. Mara recognized it immediately, loyal Zelari warriors coming to aid them. She signaled the queen to stay behind the barrier while she moved to meet the newcomers. The first figure emerged from the shadows, a tall Zelari female named Virin, one of the palace's original protectors who had remained loyal. "Lieutenant Quinn," Virin said, her voice low and urgent, "we are here to help. Follow us, we have a plan." Mara nodded, relief washing over her briefly before her mind refocused on the danger still looming outside. "Lead the way," she said, her voice firm. The loyalists guided them through hidden passageways, each step bringing them closer to the palace's outer perimeter. Mara could see the patterns of the rogue guards, predictable in their aggression, yet dangerous if underestimated. She devised strategies on the fly, collapsing tunnels, using narrow corridors to prevent enemies from overwhelming them, and setting up traps with the technology around them. By nightfall, they reached a clearing in the palace's outer gardens. The bioluminescent plants of Zithuria lit the area with a soft, ethereal glow. Mara paused to take in the sight, marveling at the beauty even amidst chaos. "It's peaceful here," she whispered. The queen's multiple limbs rested lightly on the ground, observing the glowing flora. "Even in darkness," Lysara said, "there is beauty, a lesson for those who see only the dangers." Mara smiled faintly. "I'll remember that." Suddenly, a faint rustle of movement from the perimeter snapped Mara's attention back to reality. "We're not alone," she warned. The rogue guards had tracked them, following the narrow passages to the gardens. Mara moved first, using her rifle to suppress the approaching enemies. She shouted orders to the loyalists, positioning them strategically. "Use the plants for cover. Fire only when you have a clear shot. Keep the queen safe." The battle was intense but brief. Mara's strategy, combined with the loyal Zelari's precision, allowed them to repel the attackers. The rogue guards retreated into the shadows, leaving the human and her allies victorious, for now. Mara exhaled heavily, lowering her weapon. The queen approached her, a mixture of admiration and relief in her eyes. "You have turned a desperate situation into hope," Lysara said. "Humans, you are remarkable." Mara shook her head, humility in her expression. "I am just doing what I must, but together we are stronger. You cannot face this alone, and I cannot either." The queen considered this. "Then we are partners, Lieutenant Quinn. Not just protector and protected, but allies." For the first time, Mara felt a sense of purpose beyond mere survival. She was no longer just a soldier. She was a symbol of resilience, a bridge between humans and the Zelari people. Her decisions, her courage, could shape the future of this alien world. Night fell fully over Zithuria. The glowing gardens provided some comfort, but Mara knew that their journey was far from over. The rogue guards would regroup, and the threat to the queen would not end until they were fully defeated. But for now, Mara allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. She had stood when others fled, held the line when all seemed lost, and earned the trust of a powerful alien queen. That was enough to give her strength for the trials ahead. As the wind rustled the luminous leaves, Mara glanced at Lysara. "We will survive this. And when we do, we will show them what humans are capable of." The queen nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars above. "Yes, Lieutenant, let them see." In the heart of the bioluminescent garden, human and Zelari stood together, an unlikely but unbreakable alliance, ready to face whatever darkness awaited them. and somewhere deep in Mara's chest, a fire burned brighter than ever, a fire that would not be extinguished until the rogue guards were defeated and peace restored to the Zelari Empire. The bioluminescent forest outside the palace shimmered like a living ocean of light. Mara Quinn moved cautiously through the tall, glowing plants, Empress Lysara close at her side. The rogue Zelari guards had been driven back for now, but Mara knew they would return. Their betrayal was not a fleeting act. It was part of a larger, more dangerous plan. "Lieutenant Quinn," Lysara said softly, her voice calm yet filled with authority, "we cannot rely on luck alone, we must prepare." Mara nodded. "Luck doesn't win battles, planning does, and courage." The Queen glanced at her, fascinated. "Humans, you value courage so highly." "It's more than courage," Mara said. "It's about doing what's right even when the odds are against you, even when everyone else has given up." The forest around them seemed alive, whispering with the wind and the soft hum of alien insects. Mara could feel the pulse of Zithuria under her feet, the energy of the planet itself mingling with the fear and hope in the air. She led Lysara along a narrow path, one Mara had memorized from patrols before the betrayal. It was dangerous terrain for the unprepared, but Mara had learned to use the environment to her advantage. "We need allies," Mara said, breaking the silence. "Loyalists from the palace helped us, but we need more. We need people who are willing to fight for you and for the future of your empire." The Queen's compound eyes flickered thoughtfully. "There are tribes beyond the capital, those who have not sworn to the rogue guards. Perhaps they will hear our call." "Good," Mara said. "We'll need them to trust us. Trust is everything." The two moved silently through the forest, avoiding patrols and natural hazards alike. Mara taught Lysara how to watch the surroundings, how to listen for subtle changes in the air or sounds of movement. The Queen was quick to learn, her limbs moving with precise control as she mirrored Mara's defensive maneuvers. At a small clearing, Mara paused and pointed to a ridge overlooking a valley. "There," she said, "we can make our first attempt to contact the loyal tribes. But it will take careful planning." Lysara's gaze followed her hand, studying the terrain. "Your humans have a strange way of thinking. You see possibilities where others see obstacles." "That's how we survive," Mara replied, "and that's how we win." Mara and the Queen spent the next hours observing the valley. Small groups of Zelari moved below, not the rogue guards, but independent tribes Mara had heard about during her time in Zithuria. Mara had to calculate carefully which tribes could be trusted, which might be hostile, and how to approach without triggering conflict. She drew simple diagrams in the dirt with a stick showing troop movements, possible ambush points, and safe paths. Lysara watched, her eyes following every motion. "Humans think differently," she said, "but your method is clear, logical, decisive, and clever." Mara smiled faintly. "We have to be outnumbered, outgunned. Sometimes we're all we've got. That's why strategy matters more than size." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the valley in shadows. Mara signaled to the Queen. "We move tonight. Darkness is our ally." They descended the ridge carefully, Mara leading and Lysara following closely. Mara's instincts guided their path, avoiding patrols and natural obstacles alike. Each step required attention. One misstep could alert the rogue guards or hostile tribes. As they approached a village nestled in the valley, Mara raised her hand. "Stop," she whispered. From the shadows, they observed the villagers, tall Zelari, smaller and less imposing than palace guards, but disciplined and alert. Mara took a deep breath. "We show them we are not a threat, that we fight for the future, not domination." Lysara stepped forward. "I am Empress Lysara. My guards betrayed me, but I seek those who will stand for what is right. Will you join us?" The villagers hesitated, their antennae twitching as they processed the Queen's words. Mara could feel the tension in the air, like a taut string ready to snap. She stepped closer, her voice firm and steady. "I am Lieutenant Mara Quinn, human soldier. I fight for the Queen, and for anyone who stands against betrayal. Your choice will shape the future of Zithuria." Silence followed for a moment that stretched like eternity. Then a tall Zelari male, the village leader, stepped forward. His exoskeleton glimmered in the moonlight. "We have heard of your courage," he said slowly, "and we have long questioned the loyalty of the palace guards. We will stand with you. But understand this, treachery is everywhere, trust must be earned." Mara nodded. "We understand, but together we are stronger than any one faction." The villagers prepared quickly, arming themselves with their energy weapons and shields. Mara and Lysara guided them through defensive strategies, combining human improvisation with Zelari precision. Mara demonstrated how humans use the terrain, traps, and clever maneuvers to maximize effectiveness despite smaller numbers. Lysara observed and learned quickly, adapting her royal authority to lead not just by command but by strategy. As the night deepened, Mara trained the villagers in basic combat tactics. She moved among them, correcting mistakes, offering encouragement, and inspiring confidence. She showed them how to anticipate attacks, how to communicate silently, and how to protect one another. For the first time, Mara felt the full power of her human ingenuity making a difference in an alien world. Lysara watched silently, learning every lesson. "Humans, you do not rely on strength alone," she said quietly. "You combine mind, skill, and will. That is why you survive where others fall." Mara gave a small smile. "Strength is important, but it is only part of the equation. Brains and heart matter just as much. And loyalty can turn the tide of any battle." The villagers tested their new strategies with mock attacks, and Mara guided them, correcting errors and refining their formations. Lysara joined in, her many limbs moving gracefully as she practiced maneuvers that combined human tactics with Zelari reflexes. Slowly, they began to form a united, disciplined force capable of resisting the rogue guards. By dawn, the alliance had taken shape. Mara surveyed the gathered Zelari humans and their queen, feeling a sense of pride she had rarely experienced. "This is the beginning," she said. "Together we will reclaim the palace. Together we will restore order. And together we will show that courage, planning, and loyalty can overcome betrayal." Lysara's eyes gleamed with determination. "Yes, Mara, this is only the beginning, and with you at my side, I have no doubt we will succeed." Mara felt a surge of resolve. The rogue guards had underestimated humans. They had assumed fear and flight. But Mara had shown them that one human, armed with courage and intellect, could stand against overwhelming odds. Now, with an army united by trust, loyalty, and shared purpose, the tide was beginning to turn. The forest around them glowed softly in the morning light, the bioluminescent flora fading as the sun rose. Mara knew the battles ahead would be dangerous, but she also knew that humans had a unique gift, the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to inspire. With Lysara by her side, and the newly formed alliance behind them, Mara felt a spark of hope that had been absent since the betrayal began. As the Allied forces prepared for their march toward the capital, Mara glanced at the Queen. "We move carefully," she said, "but we move with purpose. Every step we take is a message. Betrayal will not triumph." Lysara nodded. "And every step we take together, humans and Zelari alike. Let them see our strength and our unity." Mara felt a surge of pride. This alliance was more than a military strategy. It was a symbol. A human had stayed when everyone else fled, and in doing so, had inspired trust, courage, and hope in beings far stronger and older than herself. The rogue guards might control the palace for now, but the future belonged to those who fought for honor, for loyalty, and for what was right. And as the sun rose over Zithuria, casting golden light across the forest, Mara knew that this was only the beginning. The next battle would be the hardest yet, but she was ready. Humanity's courage, ingenuity, and loyalty had earned a place in this alien world, and Mara would ensure it remained. The morning sun rose over the valley, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Mara Quinn stood at the head of the Allied forces, her pulse rifle in hand and her eyes scanning the horizon. Behind her, Empress Lysara moved with calm authority, her many limbs coordinating the Zelari tribes who had agreed to join their cause. Humans and Zelari now marched together, bound by trust and purpose. "This is it," Mara said quietly, though her voice carried to the troops. "Today we reclaim what was stolen. Today we show that courage and loyalty matter more than numbers." The Allied forces moved through the forest, silent but ready. Mara had spent the past days studying the palace's layout, combining her human knowledge of tactics with Lysara's intimate understanding of Zelari defenses. Together, they devised a plan. Human squads would infiltrate through the hidden tunnels and sabotage rogue weapon systems, while Zelari warriors would strike the main entrances with precision. Every step was calculated, every risk measured. Lysara's gaze met Mara's. "Do not underestimate them. They know the palace better than we do." Mara nodded. Neither do we, but we have the advantage they don't expect. Humans never quit, and we fight smarter than they think. As they approached the palace perimeter, Myra signaled the human squads to split into smaller groups. Using the shadows of the surrounding cliffs and trees, they moved silently toward the palace walls. Myra led the largest group, aiming for the main tunnel that connected the underground chambers to the central palace. The rogue guards patrolled in predictable patterns, their overconfidence making them careless. Myra whispered instructions through a small communicator. "Wait for my signal now." With precision, the human squad disabled the first set of energy locks, moving swiftly to sabotage the guards' communication devices. Mara's training allowed her to anticipate every step, avoiding patrols and using the environment to conceal their movements. Meanwhile, Lysara commanded the Zelari forces from the forest edge. Her voice was firm, yet inspiring, directing her warriors to hold positions and prepare for coordinated attacks. She moved among them, demonstrating techniques she had learned from Mara: feints, ambush setups, and clever diversions. The Zelari, though initially skeptical, now followed her guidance with confidence, impressed by the fusion of human ingenuity and royal authority. By midday, the humans had reached the palace tunnels. Mara paused, listening. The distant hum of energy weapons and the low chatter of rogue guards filled the air. She motioned for the squad to spread out, each human taking a strategic position to disable key defenses. The palace was eerily quiet inside. Mara led the way, clearing rooms and corridors with precision. They encountered sporadic resistance, but the human squads, trained to adapt and improvise, quickly overcame it. Mara's pulse rifle discharged with deadly accuracy, while the squad used makeshift traps and diversions to confuse the attackers. In the central hall, the rogue guards were assembling, unaware of the infiltration. Mara signaled Lysara. From the forest, the queen gave a single nod, and the Zelari warriors launched their coordinated assault. Energy blasts illuminated the hall as loyal forces clashed with the rogue guards. The palace trembled under the fury of the battle. Mara moved like a shadow through the chaos, taking out key threats and guiding the human squads to critical points: weapon stores, control panels, and defensive towers. Her quick thinking and strategic brilliance turned potential disasters into opportunities. Each success inspired the allies, reinforcing the idea that humans could overcome the most dangerous odds with courage and intelligence. Lysara, in the heart of the battle, demonstrated her own power. She coordinated multiple squads simultaneously, using her limbs to deflect attacks, redirect her warriors, and exploit weaknesses in the rogue defenses. Mara watched with admiration. The queen's ability to adapt to human strategies and blend them with her natural Zelari skills was awe-inspiring. Together, they were unstoppable. Hours passed. The battle raged, but slowly the tide turned. The rogue guards, overwhelmed and confused by the unexpected strategies of Mara and the queen, began to retreat. Mara pursued them, ensuring no regrouping or counterattack could threaten the palace. Finally, the central chamber was cleared. Mara and Lysara stood together, surveying the battlefield. Loyal Zelari and humans moved to secure the palace, helping the injured and restoring order. The once betrayed queen now stood in a position of strength, her authority reaffirmed not through fear, but through courage, loyalty, and strategic brilliance. Mara lowered her rifle, exhaustion heavy on her shoulders, but satisfaction warming her chest. Lysara approached her, her multifaceted eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and gratitude. "Lieutenant Quinn," she said, her voice carrying over the subdued chaos, "you have not only protected me, you have restored hope to my people." Mara shook her head, humility in her expression. "I did what I had to do, but we all fought together. Humans, Zelari, and those who believed in justice. That's what won the palace back." The queen extended a limb, a gesture of formal respect in Zelari tradition. Mara grasped it firmly, a silent acknowledgement of their partnership. "Your courage inspired them," Lysara continued, "and your loyalty proved that humans are more than allies. You are a symbol of strength in this galaxy." Outside, the city began to recover from the turmoil. Civilians cautiously emerged from hiding, witnessing the palace restored and the rogue threat eliminated. Mara could see the difference in their expressions: fear replaced by hope, doubt replaced by trust. Humanity had proven itself, not by sheer strength, but by resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering commitment. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Mara and Lysara stood atop the palace balcony. The battle had been won, but Mara knew that vigilance would always be necessary. The galaxy was vast, and betrayal could arise anywhere. "You saved more than my life," Lysara said softly. "You saved our future." Mara smiled faintly. "I did what anyone would do who values life, loyalty, and honor. Humans fight not for glory, but because it is the right thing to do, and today we showed what that means." The queen regarded her thoughtfully. "Your people, they are remarkable. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humanity for too long." Mara felt a surge of pride. Not for herself, but for her species. For the courage that allowed humans to stand when others would flee, to fight when others would surrender, and to lead when others would hesitate. Humanity's role in the galaxy was no longer secondary. It had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. As night fell, the palace was quiet. Mara and Lysara walked through the halls, now cleared of the rogue guards. The Empress's chambers were untouched, preserved as a symbol of continuity and resilience. Mara paused, looking at the queen. "Lieutenant Quinn," Lysara said, her voice firm, "your bravery will be remembered. Your name will be spoken among the Zelari as one who stood when all others faltered." Mara shook her head. "I didn't do this for recognition. I did it because it was right, because you mattered, because your people mattered. That's what humans fight for." The queen nodded, a quiet smile on her features. "Then you are more than a soldier, you are a guardian, and the galaxy is lucky to have humans like you." Mara allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The rogue guards had been defeated, the palace reclaimed, and the queen's reign restored. But more than that, humans had earned the respect of an alien civilization. Mara had shown what one human could do: courage, strategy, and loyalty combined to overcome overwhelming odds. And as she gazed out over the city, Mara knew that the story of human valor had only begun. There would be more battles, more challenges, and more tests of courage. But for now, humanity had proven that it could stand alongside the greatest species in the galaxy and emerge victorious. Mara and Lysara stood side by side on the balcony, watching the city light up under the glow of 1,000 bioluminescent lamps. The palace had been retaken, but more importantly, a bond had been forged, one that would shape the future of Zethuria and beyond. "Tomorrow," Mara said softly, "we rebuild, and we make sure this never happens again." "Yes," Lysara replied, her voice steady and resolute. "And together, we will ensure that loyalty, courage, and honor guide our path forward." In that moment, Mara understood something profound. Humanity's place in the galaxy was not earned through power alone. It was earned through the qualities that made humans unique: ingenuity, determination, and an unyielding sense of what was right. And with those qualities, the impossible could be achieved. The palace was secure. The rogue guards were defeated, and humanity, through one soldier's courage, had claimed a lasting place in the heart of an alien empire. The palace of Empress Lysara stood tall and proud once more, its spires gleaming in the soft light of Zethuria's twin suns. Mara Quinn walked through its restored halls, her pulse rifle slung over her shoulder, but her steps were careful, respectful. The battle was over, yet the work of rebuilding had only begun. The city outside had begun to recover. Loyal Zelari and humans moved through the streets together, repairing damage, securing vital systems, and restoring order. Civilians, once fearful and uncertain, now glanced at the palace with renewed hope. Word had spread quickly of Mara's bravery, the human who had stood alone when all others fled. She did not seek praise, but it followed her nonetheless. In the grand central hall, Empress Lysara had summoned the leaders of the loyal Zelari tribes and the human forces who had aided in the retake. The atmosphere was tense but celebratory. Mara stood near the back, observing the faces around her, a mixture of gratitude, respect, and curiosity. Humans were still a rarity among the Zelari, yet now they were seen as more than allies. They were a symbol of hope. Lysara's voice rang through the hall, firm and commanding. "Today, we honor those who have risked everything for the safety of our empire. We honor those who have stood when others fell, and we honor the courage that has restored our home." The room fell silent, all eyes turning toward Mara. She felt the weight of their gaze, but also a strange warmth. It was not fear or judgment. This was respect, the kind earned through action and unwavering loyalty. "Lieutenant Mara Quinn," Lysara continued, "stood when her allies abandoned her. She fought alone to protect me, and in doing so, she proved that humans are capable of great valor. Today, I formally recognize her as a guardian of the Zelari Empire. A hush filled the hall as the queen stepped forward. Myra felt a mixture of pride and humility. She had never sought recognition, yet the acknowledgement of her courage was deeply meaningful. Lysara extended a ceremonial limb, a symbol of honor and trust in Zelari culture. Myra stepped forward and clasped it firmly. "You have not only protected me," the queen said, her voice steady and warm, "but you have inspired all of Zithuria. Your actions remind us that loyalty, courage, and determination can overcome the darkest betrayal. You are more than a soldier. You are a symbol of hope." Myra bowed slightly, the gesture simple but sincere. "I only did what was necessary. No one should stand alone when the stakes are this high. We fight for what is right and for those who cannot fight for themselves." Applause filled the hall, but it was not just for Myra. It was for the idea she represented. Humans had proven themselves capable of bravery, ingenuity, and leadership. In a galaxy where strength was often measured by size and weaponry, humanity's unique qualities had turned the tide of a battle that seemed impossible. After the ceremony, Myra walked through the palace gardens with the queen. The bioluminescent plants still glowed faintly in the evening light, a reminder of the strange and beautiful world they now shared. "You have changed everything," Lysara said quietly. "Your actions will be remembered for generations. The Zelari have long valued strength, but you have shown that courage, loyalty, and intelligence are equally powerful. Humans, you are remarkable." Myra smiled faintly. "We do what we must, and we fight because it is the right thing to do. That's how humans survive." "That's how we win," the queen nodded, considering her words. "Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humanity for too long. Your kind has a strength that is not always obvious, but it is undeniable." For the first time, Myra felt a sense of belonging she had rarely experienced. She had come to Zithuria as an outsider, a human in a world dominated by alien power. But through courage, loyalty, and determination, she had earned a place not just as a protector, but as a trusted ally and symbol of hope. In the days that followed, Myra worked alongside the queen and her council to rebuild the palace's defenses and ensure the safety of the city. Humans and Zelari trained together, learning from one another. Myra shared human strategies, improvisation, and tactical thinking, while the Zelari taught her about their technology, agility, and combat techniques. The cooperation between humans and Zelari grew stronger with each passing day. Myra witnessed something remarkable, a blending of strengths, cultures, and perspectives. Where there had once been mistrust, now there was collaboration. Where there had once been fear, now there was hope. One evening, as the twin suns set over the horizon, casting golden light across the city, Myra and Lysara stood atop the highest balcony of the palace. Below, citizens moved freely, rebuilding and celebrating together. "You have done more than protect a queen," Lysara said softly. "You have helped heal a society. You have reminded us of what loyalty and courage mean." Myra's eyes scanned the city. "It wasn't just me, it was everyone who believed in doing the right thing." "Humans, Zelari, we are stronger together," the queen smiled. "And together we will ensure that this empire thrives. Your presence here will be remembered not as an outsider but as one of us. Humanity has earned its place in the heart of Zithuria." As night fell, Myra reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The betrayal, the battles, the fear, and the courage. She had stood alone when others fled, led allies into battle, and forged an alliance that would shape the future of an alien civilization. Humanity's role in the galaxy had been questioned, underestimated, and yet here she was, a human who had proven that valor, loyalty, and ingenuity could bridge worlds. In the quiet of the palace gardens, Myra allowed herself a rare moment of rest. The stars above Zithuria glittered like 1,000 tiny promises, each one a reminder of the vast possibilities that lay ahead. She knew that challenges would come again, other threats, other betrayals. But she also knew that humans had something unique to offer the galaxy: the courage to stand when others falter, the wisdom to act when others hesitate, and the loyalty to protect those who could not protect themselves. The queen approached, her presence calm and reassuring. "Lieutenant Quinn," she said, "there will be challenges ahead, but I have no doubt that with you by my side, humanity's light will continue to shine in this galaxy." Myra smiled faintly. "Then we move forward together." And so the alliance between humans and Zelari grew stronger. Mara's name became known across Cytheria, not just as a soldier, but as a guardian, a symbol, and a bridge between worlds. The rogue guards had been defeated, the palace restored, and the queen honored. But more importantly, humanity had earned respect, trust, and a lasting place among the stars. Myra looked out over the city, the soft glow of the palace lighting the streets below. Somewhere deep inside her, a fire burned brighter than ever, a fire of courage, loyalty, and hope. She knew that humanity's story in the galaxy was only beginning, and she would be there to ensure it continued. Tomorrow, Mara whispered to herself, we build a future that will not forget what courage can achieve. Lysara, sensing her resolve, nodded. And together, Lieutenant Quinn, we will ensure that the galaxy knows the strength of humans. Their spirit is extraordinary. The night deepened, but Mara did not rest in fear or doubt. She rested in certainty that humans could stand against the impossible, inspire allies, and shape the fate of entire civilizations. She had proven it once, and she would prove it again. As the stars shone above Cytheria, human and Zelari alike moved forward, united by courage, strategy, and loyalty. The palace was safe. The queen was honored. And humanity, through one soldier's unwavering bravery, had earned a place not just on Cytheria, but in the galaxy itself. The journey had been long, the trials difficult, but the victory was complete, not through power alone, but through the qualities that defined humanity: intelligence, courage, and an unbreakable sense of honor. And somewhere in the heart of that palace, Mara Quinn smiled, knowing that the story of humans among the stars had only just begun.